Hello, I'm Guillermo Figueroa, the principal conductor of the Santa Fe Symphony. And I think we just went live. So, hello, I'm Guillermo Figueroa, the principal conductor of the Santa Fe Symphony, and it's nice to spend some time with you. These are really crazy times. We're living through something that none of us ever thought they would witness. And it's a very difficult time, particularly for musicians and performing artists of all kinds. And that's why it's very important that the Santa Fe Symphony remain very active. And we rely on your support. Our musicians rely on your support. We've all tried different things to keep us busy during this very difficult time. But at the same time, I think it's a good opportunity to reassess, to rethink different things, and to figure out where we go from here. What can we do differently? We are planning a full slate of concerts next year. But in case some of those might not happen, because nobody really knows what's going to happen in the future, it's very uncertain. Um, we are thinking of different things to do. The most obvious thing would be to give virtual concerts in platforms such as this and others, but we are trying to see many other things. We have a wonderful group of musicians that in both the programming committee and the steering committee who are working very hard to come up with ideas for us to be prepared for anything that might happen. Different ideas are being explored. The playing concerts in different venues, open spaces, museums, of course, keeping the safe distancing always. The idea of one-on-one concerts that would be sold to the public is very, very appealing. We will tell you all about these ideas if they indeed come to pass. One interesting thing that has come up with all these discussions is that we have to reassess how we deal with the situations that the country is going through in terms of the protests and the racial minorities, discrimination, and all that. And one thing that has been very clear from most of the musicians is that we want to be able to have greater diversity in our programming and include composers that are underrepresented, composers of color, female composers, composers from many different nationalities. Already in our programs, we have four terrific female composers that are not heard all that often. But in addition to that, we want to make sure we include Hispanic composers, Black composers, and minorities of every kind, which we are very much definitely going to do. The other thing that I think has been very interesting for me during this time is to figure out actually what to do with my time, what to keep me busy. There is nothing like actual live performing or listening to a live concert. We know that it is it's a communal act that has no equal to anything else that I can think of. As wonderful as listening to music in the privacy of our homes is, which I do a lot, nothing recreates the experience of a live concert with things happening at the moment. And that's what we miss. That's what all our musicians and many artists all over the world are missing. And we rely on your support to keep us going so that when we come back, when? I don't know, at some point. What I'm hoping is that this will make for a renaissance, a reawakening, a great desire from the whole world to experience music and art again. Music and great art, poetry, plays, everything it's been around for thousands of years. there's no reason why that will end. In fact, I think that if we all manage to survive these terrible times, we are in for a wonderful period of flourishing for the arts. And that's what I'm very much hoping. Um, so anyway, I'm hoping that will be some questions from some of you to but in the meantime, while we get some questions, do please check the full slate of concerts that we have programmed for next year and the options that you have if you're a subscriber or a part of or buy individual tickets, what to do with those tickets in case those concerts might not happen. Now, we give you a lot of choices and a great variety of options to deal with it with those tickets. So for me, um, one thing that I've done, and some of you don't know that, and I deliberately took off the sling so I would not look so weird in the picture. I had rotator cuff surgery on my right shoulder, and I'm supposed to be wearing a sling, but I can take it off. So no waving of the stick for me these days, or practicing the violin, which is actually really nice. Um, when one does a discipline like something as strenuous as a violin all your life, to all of a sudden to not have it could be devastating. But for me, it's actually been a good time to think music more in my head than actually physically doing it. Nothing replaces it, of course, but it's been a really, really wonderful, interesting time. Um, One thing that I've been doing, I've been learning of all things, the ring cycle of Wagner. I, I don't know when one would have the time for that, considering it's about 17 hours of music total. But now we have the time to do that. And of course, re-examining the works of Beethoven, this being the 250th anniversary of his birth. Um, I'm particularly saddened that we were not able to present the Beethoven's Ninth Symphony in our final concert last year, but we are going to do everything we can to bring that back. Um, so anyway, let's see. Questions. Do you have any intentions of playing solo violin or viola in the new season, live or otherwise? I am not at the moment planning on playing any solos on violin or viola with the symphony. I have other engagements elsewhere that I hope will come to pass and will not be canceled as well. But I prefer to be concentrating on my conducting these days. There's a lot of music to learn, and it is a perfect time to do that. I see Carmen Flores Manzi has checked in. Hi, Carmen, our wonderful choral conductor. And every time I see her name or I hear from her, I get even more sad because we were not able to do the two concerts um, with the chorus that we had planned. The Rudder Mass for the Children that would have been in April, and then the Ninth Symphony that we would have done in at the end of May. But hopefully those will happen. You have understand that there everybody in the world is making different studies as to what is safe or not safe to do during this pandemic as far as performing. And unfortunately, because of breathing and singing and expelling air, singing is one of the worst, one of the most dangerous things that can probably be done. And I don't think there's enough social distancing that can mitigate that. So almost everything that is related to singing would have to be put on hold for a while, which is really a shame. And of course, the same thing goes for, unfortunately, for wind instruments. A lot of air is expelled. There's the issue of the aerosol spray in the air. How safe is the distance? Is a shield going to be enough? Um, we are struggling with all of those and coming up with as many possible options as we can see what we can do in the future. But we are going to do a lot of virtual concerts, I hope, if nothing else, and we hope you will join us for that. We have more questions here. Uh, yeah, somebody says The Ring, referring to Wagner's cycle. If I had the opportunity to do one of the four music dramas of The Ring, which would you choose? Uh, the shortest one. No, I'm kidding. That would be Das Rangold, which is the first. That's the shortest one. But I think they're all magnificent. I would probably be thrilled to do Valkyria because it seems to be the most. Seems to me to be the most appealing. Immediately has a more immediacy of action and feeling and music. A lot of the other operas get very dark and philosophical, although the music is beautiful. But Valkyrie has a an immediacy and liveliness to it that is irresistible. I don't think I will get to do Wagner operas. For that, you need a gigantic company. You need a lot of money. But one of the projects that I am hoping to do with the Santa Fe Symphony, if we come back, no, not if, we will come back for sure. But it's a question of when, is to do opera in concert. In fact, if you have followed the programming that we had set up for next year, you'll know that we had a concert scheduled for Christmas Eve, which would be a collaboration with the Santa Fe Opera. And they were going to give us four wonderful singers from their roster to do a concert of opera excerpts, arias, duets, quartets, ensembles. And I'm still keeping my fingers crossed that that concert will happen. A resource such as the Santa Fe Opera here is a wonderful thing to have, and we are thrilled that we can start this collaboration, and we'll see very much what will happen. So, Bob checks in again. Act one of Valkyrie is my favorite. Well, uh, you are maybe right there. That's certainly the most appealing one of them all immediately. We'll see. We'll see what happens when I finish my studies. Um, okay, so what else can we talk about? If you have your choice, what composers might be included on the Santa Fe Symphony opera program? Well, when it comes to opera, it's unbelievable the resources that there are and the repertoire that you can draw from. We would, of course, feature quite a bit of Verdi and Puccini, those being the most popular and most recognizable by the audiences. But I would also hope to include other things that are not necessarily as well known, or other composers that wouldn't think about it. For instance, Johann Strauss with his wonderful operetta, Die Fledermaus. That was going to be a big part of the program for Christmas Eve because it takes place in the holidays, and it's a perfect celebration work to have included. I used to play at the Santa Fe Opera many years ago. I played 6 summers there as a violinist, and one of the staples that we played almost every year was the Fledermaus, and I grew to love the piece then as a result of that. So I wanted to include some of that. But it also depends on what the singers themselves have in their repertoire and what they want to include. Um, one second, Valerie. Oh, sorry, I heard my wife. Anyway, yes, so programming can be altered in many ways, and so we don't know what we would do. So what else have I been doing? Um, Reading a lot. This is a perfect time to do that, of course. And one thing that a lot of people might not know that I enjoy doing very much is jigsaw puzzles. I like those gigantic ones with thousands of pieces, and it occupies my time and my mind. I don't think of anything. I always find that I am so obsessed with a musical thought or a piece that I'm learning or something that I'm studying. And when I do something like that, it occupies a very different part of my mind and it's like a complete relaxation, and I absolutely love to do it. Which brings to mind another point that some of you might find interesting, which has to do with conducting. Um, Sometimes people ask, how do I learn music, and especially how do I memorize large scores? Um, it's not that hard when you think about it. Um, it when people ask me, how can I conduct an entire symphony by memory? Um, One of my retorts is often, well, think of an actor. How does an actor do the entire Hamlet play by memory? It's the same way that you learn, you have certain techniques. And one technique that works very much for me is when I study a score, I don't just look at it, of course. I have to mark it extensively with a system that I have developed for myself. It might not work for anybody else, but I find that the actual act of putting these markings in the music imprints it in my brain. It's kind of like putting data into a computer. If I just see the data and read it or hear it in my head, it doesn't go in as deeply or as lastingly as if I write all these markings down. It doesn't mean I'm going to be looking at those markings when I perform. It just simply means that it's a way to get into the brain. And I have discovered that, and that helps my memory incredibly well. It's just a technique. So, but memory is something that some people have, some don't. It doesn't mean you perform better or worse or anything. I love to do it because I can look at the musicians. I can concentrate on the moment instead of having to look down all the time. And I find the connection and the rapport by looking at the musicians is much more satisfying and communicative. And I think the musicians also appreciate it a lot. Hi, John. Question from John Sirkin. What is the story of the beautiful portrait behind you? It is indeed beautiful portrait that you see back there, right behind me. Her name is Mona. It's a wonderful painting that my wife and I found in a gallery here in Albuquerque many years ago. It's done by a Chinese painter, and I can't remember the exact name right now, but he's a very, very, very famous painter trained in Russia, and his paintings are worth a fortune now in China. He's one of the most sought after painters that there is. And I had fallen in love with this painting going to the gallery, Conchetta Gallery. It's done in downtown Albuquerque. Wonderful gallery if you ever go. It still exists. And I would just look and stare and be in love with this woman in the painting. And for my 50th birthday, my wife surprised me with this painting. She went out and bought it, unbeknownst to me, and gave it to me. And now it's a centerpiece of our house. I used that painting in the cover for one of my CDs called The Romantic Violin because I think it fits it perfectly. So anyway, that's his story. So, hi, Jaime. Nice to see you. Jaime Morales, a wonderful colleague and a trombone player, conductor, who is in Cincinnati right now. Nice to see you there. Hi, Lori. Lori Lovato, our wonderful principal clarinet player. What piece or movement of a piece might you suggest for a piece for the Santa Fe musicians to perform together on Zoom? Well, this is a perfect time to make an announcement that I need to make. The announcement is that next on July 1st, next week, we will present something really interesting from the Santa Fe Symphony as a gift to you, our patrons and audiences. We are going to do a performance of a world premiere. My very dear friend, extraordinary composer, Ernesto Cordero, Puerto Rican composer, wrote a short, beautiful, wonderful, romantic, sweet, sad work called Añoranza in Spanish. It's that translates to yearning in English. It's a piece for strings that's very, very beautiful. And the title, Yearning or Añoranza, reflects our desire for a time that hopefully will come soon when we can go back to expressing our art, to be able to play music, to do all the things that we can do, which we cannot do now. It's a piece that represents hope for the future, a desire to perform, and all of those beautiful things. It will be on the Santa Fe Symphony website. It will be on this platform, Facebook and Santa Fe Symphony web page, and many other platforms. So please look for that on July 1st when we make our virtual symphony debut. I will be playing violin in the piece along with several of our fabulous string players. I think it's really great to have a minority composer and a world premiere at that. So I'm very grateful to Ernesto for having allowed us to use this work. I think it's going to be beautiful. You're going to love it. You'll see lots of beautiful images, and you'll be able to see us playing. Of course, everybody recorded from their own house. The technologies now are unbelievable. When you see this video that we'll present, I still can't believe that these things can be done. Every single player we have 17 players in this video, myself included. Everybody recorded their own part on their iPhone or Android or whatever, individually at home and videoed it. And a wonderful technician, Brian French, put it all together as the finished product that you will see. We also had the help of another friend of mine, Mariano Morales, a wonderful Puerto Rican composer who is a whiz with all sorts of technological things. He developed a click track that everybody listened to and played to. That way, we know for sure that everybody's in exactly the same place of the piece. But don't be fooled. It's not at all mechanical like you would expect with having a click track, because we do rubatos. Rubato in music means you take time, you stretch the beats, you slow down here a little bit, you rush over there. In other words, very musical, like you would be doing any piece. And the fact that we managed to do this all together, I think is really terrific. And I think you will enjoy it very much. And it's the first of what I hope will be lots of virtual presentations by the Santa Fe Symphony. So look for this next July 1st. I believe that's, is that Wednesday? July 1st, Wednesday? Let me see. July 1st is Wednesday, next Wednesday. Yes. We will send out also announcements by email to all our patrons and subscribers, and we'll announce it in the Santa Fe Symphony Facebook page as well, and every other social media. So the Santa Fe Symphony virtual debut on Facebook on July 1st. So I think it's going to be great. July 1st, Wednesday. Yes, Catherine just confirmed that. So we have a lot of wonderful people checking in here. Hi, Carlos Rubio. Nice to see you here. Wonderful to have you on board. Carlos, a very dear friend, wonderful violinist, the second violinist of the Dali Quartet. So a lot of people checking in. So yeah, I think that for the immediate future, virtual music is going to be the way it goes. Now, everybody's doing it. So many people are doing it. There's so many amazing things that pop up on YouTube and Facebook and all the other media. But I very much hope that you will keep supporting the symphony and our efforts to be in this in this arena, the virtual arena. There will be 17 players from the symphony play all strings. So as I said, I hope this will be the first one of our virtual presentations. The next one is going to feature the brass players. After that, we will do something with the percussionists, and then the wind woodwind players, so everybody will get a chance, and hopefully we will get to do something with a much larger ensemble. But that's down the road. So more questions. Sorry to hear about your rotator cuff surgery, Maestro, but I'm glad you're resting and enjoy it. There are a lot of ways to deepen musical understanding without playing if that's necessary. Hope to see you in person soon. Thank you, Anne. It is true. I always find that the music happens in my head. And when I teach students, whether they be on the violin or in conducting, I always stress the fact that you cannot play music or conduct music if you don't hear it fully in your head. And then you try to reproduce it. So I always ask, or they ask me rather, Maestro, how should I play this? I said, I don't know. How do you want it to sound? What is your sound? Can you sing it? Can you try to imitate what you hear in your head and see if you can find the right tools, the right technique to do those sounds? It has to happen in your head first. Otherwise, we're just reading notes from a page. Music is a creative part. Well, it is creative from the part of the composer who writes the music, and it's recreative from the part of the performer. But both things are essential. One, you can't have one, obviously, without the other. So, yes. Thank you, Anne, for pointing that out about music being in your head. And Carmen jumps in. Of course, I should have mentioned it. Of course, the chorus will also participate in virtual performances as we go along, and as you manage to find ways to do the singing in a way that is safe for all the participants involved, which I'm sure you've told me, Carmen, that you've been doing that already with small ensembles at the cathedral. So that's absolutely wonderful. We're not alone, obviously, in having this problem. Can you imagine how many orchestras have canceled in the world, and how many musicians right now are without work? It's really a gigantic disaster for anybody involved in the performing arts. Um, but we find comfort in that we are a community, and everybody learns from each other. Major orchestras such as the Berlin Philharmonic and the Vienna Philharmonic have already done extensive studies as to the safety of performing on stage and the distancing that has to be from one another and all of that. But obviously, it's not at all still feasible to have a stage packed with musicians as we would normally do in a orchestra performance. So for a while, we are going to have to rely on smaller groups, probably, on virtual performances, on innovative things, more outdoor performances, possibly, but so many things that are still unknown, and I don't know what's going to be, but we do rely on your sticking with the symphony and keeping your support for our wonderful musicians. So I don't see any more questions. I don't know if there's anything else that anybody would like to know, but maybe we can leave it at that. A reminder that next Wednesday, July 1st, we will do the premiere of the work called Añoranza, or Yearning in English, for strings, played by Santa Fe Symphony members. It will be our virtual debut on this platform, Facebook, and on the Santa Fe Symphony website. A wonderful work for strings by Ernesto Cordero, Puerto Rican composer, and you will hear it first right here on Facebook and other platforms. So Please keep checking in with the orchestra. It's been wonderful to spend some time with you. I hope everybody remains safe, stay healthy, and we will be back as soon as we can possibly do it. So anyway, have a wonderful rest of the summer, and hope to see you soon, very soon. I hope to see you very soon on stage for our concerts. Take care. Have a great summer.